Sun and Fun is like a really nice family reunion. We're going to be out there on the flight line. We're the only coffee company that's going to do coffee and tea on the flight line. We're showcasing really high quality coffee.
Welcome to the Future in Flight podcast. From a hangar somewhere on the flight line, I'm Sean Starker. Today's episode is packed with inspiration, innovation, and some seriously cool career paths. We're kicking things off with an amazing story about Josh Cook, a flight test engineer who combined his love for aviation with a passion for coffee to create something truly unique. Then, we'll explore a few fun careers outside of the cockpit that prove the sky's not the limit, it's just the beginning. And finally, we'll decode the secret language of pilots in our Cockpit Culture segment. Whether you're dreaming of your first solo flight or just curious about the future of aviation, you're in the right place. Let's take off. Today's story soars from the dusty runways of Edwards Air Force Base to the aromatic world of specialty coffee. It's about how a kid who fell in love with experimental aircraft turned that passion into not just one career, but two, becoming both a flight test engineer and the founder of an aviation-inspired coffee company that's taking off faster than a fighter jet and afterburner. Josh Cook grew up in Southern California, surrounded by aviation, both civilian and military.
The March Air Force Base and Edwards Air Force Base and the Chino Air Show in Southern California. We had one in Tustin, San Diego. We'd had all these air shows, and my parents would always take me to me, and I was always captivated by the F-117. I was captivated by the P-51, the F-4 Corsair, the SR-71. Now, I worked at Edwards Air Force Base. I got to see the SR-71. I got to be right up next to it. I got to touch it. Now I'm saying like, wow, this thing is amazing. Now, obviously, they took all the technology, so you don't know what it was in an operational state. But when you have the old-timer pilots sitting right there telling you every intricate detail, I'm like, this is so cool.
But Josh's journey into aviation wasn't a straight line. Although he enlisted in the Army as an aviation specialist, when he got out, he went through the police academy and then became a CrossFit coach. Aviation kept calling him back, though.
I tried to walk away twice. I really did. I tried to go into the police academy, self-funded. I never got hired. And then I tried to become a competitive CrossFit athlete. And then a couple of years ago, when my parents moved out to Texas with us, I was looking at all the pictures and I noticed my grandmother was next to an old Piper. My pops told me, oh yeah, both of parents were Piper pilots. And I was like, what? It never clicked. Call it in your roots or in your DNA, but I was always trying to figure out, like, why didn't I go this direction? Why didn't I go that direction? Why does this click so well for me? And aviation and engineering always just was there.
As a flight test engineer working on government projects, Josh ensures military aircraft systems meet rigorous standards before active service. His work involves testing some pretty cutting-edge aviation technology.
As the former chief flight test director for Northrop Grumman, I had 7 different programs I was in charge of, and that was all the UAV stuff, which is the Global Hawk program. Global Hawk variants, you had NATO, you had Triton, which was my bread and butter. I was the first guy to deliver mission-capable Triton aircrafts to the actual customer themselves. We had B5, B6, B7 go to them. Those were all my aircrafts. I was the test director that was taking it from Lancaster, California into Point Loma, California.
And what exactly does a flight test engineer do?
Well, the greatest thing about a flight test engineer, I get to tell pilots what to do. They have the authority to override me if they put the aircraft in an unsafe environment, condition, things like that, or state, an unknown state that they've never gone through, or that they think that we're not in a controlled setting. Flight test engineering is really cool because we work on not only the aircraft itself, but the mission systems within the aircraft. So I will do a lot of DoD stuff. I don't do a lot of civilian stuff. So the DoD stuff is we take a 737, we highly modify it and put a lot of mission systems on it. And then we take this aircraft out to fly. Well, the functional check flight of that aircraft ensures that all of the mission systems that we put on there doesn't affect the safety of flight. All right. Then there's stuff that we do on the ground prior to go flying. Then typically we go through a few of those, iron out all the kinks. Then we actually start activating the mission system. We start turning on all the different nuances that are inside of there, making sure that it's not going to affect the flight controls, this, that, the expected. Then we start exercising those particular mission systems to make sure that they're working to the customer's specifications. And then we bring it back and things like that. So that's a couple flights that are in there.
But there was another passion brewing in Josh's life, something that would change his trajectory yet again.
I hated coffee. I did not like coffee at all. I did not like the taste of coffee. I was in downtown Baltimore, I believe it was. And I was just, 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep. So let's go find something to drink or something to eat, really, first. And I walked by a specialty coffee. When I found this place, it had this really sweet smell coming out of it. And I thought maybe Cinnamon Roll is bakery. And I walk in, and there's not a bakery in there. There's not a cinnamon roll. There's not any type of kitchen in there other than the coffee roaster. And so I walk up, and I even ask. I was like, "Hey, do you guys have like any pastries or anything like that?" I'm like, no, just coffee. Can we get you anything? And I'm like, "Well, I'm not a coffee person. Like, I don't like coffee at all." The owner comes out and he sits there and goes, "Hey, you ever had a pour over, like an Ethiopian pour over or this?" So he makes me a pour over with him out at the table.
That cup changed everything.
Probably one of the coolest cup coffees I've ever had. Those Ethiopian coffees, man, are just out of this world. They're nothing like South American coffees. And it was very creamy. It was very smooth, very smooth. It had a lot of flavor to it. And he didn't put simple syrup in it. He didn't put creamer in it. He didn't put sugar in it. He didn't put anything in it. He just did a pour over. And that's what captivated me. I was like, okay. Told me about coffee has about 800 natural flavors by itself. Of the Arabica variation, there's about 150 varieties. And I'm like, okay, engineering brain starts going.
Josh dove into coffee science with the same precision he applied to aircraft systems testing. He discovered that, like aviation, coffee has different tiers of complexity. And like the specialized aircraft he tested, the best coffee requires exact engineering.
I was like, okay, so I'm going to do a specialty grade coffee. Do I want to do drum roasting or air roasting? Air roasting, because only the top 5% of coffee roasters use an air roaster, and creates more truthfulness to the coffee, creates more vibrancy, brightness, brings out more of those citrusy notes, which are called acidic notes. So all that fun stuff changes the way that the coffee accentuates itself, the way that it reacts with our bodies. When we have an air roasting, it creates more clean, vibrant style coffees.
In 2019, Josh launched Legendary Aviation Coffee Company, combining his two passions. Each coffee blend is named after a historic aircraft, matching the characteristics of the plane.
Like the B-52 bomber, it's a very heavy aircraft, it's a very smelly aircraft. So if I come up with the coffee, it's got to be really full body, naturally. The Terrazoo Mustang was named after the P-51 Mustang. Like we have the VTEL Bonanza. VTEL Bonanza is a beautiful aircraft. That's why you have that El Salvador, because it's a beautiful cup of coffee. It can be smooth.
The company has grown rapidly, becoming the official coffee provider for Sun and Fun, one of aviation's biggest events.
Sun and Fun is like a really nice family reunion. We're going to be out there on the flight line. We're the only coffee company that's going to do coffee and tea on the flight line. We're showcasing really high quality coffee.
And through its sales, Legendary Aviation Coffee Company is helping Sun and Fun's mission of bringing aviation to Central Florida youth.
We are giving back 10% of our coffee sales, our simple syrups, our teas in the bag form back to Sun and Fun's nonprofit. Then I sat there and I was like, you know what, guys? We're going to move a lot of coffee in the cup form, all right? We're going to give 25% away of the sales for that to Sun and Fun. Now the third one. For the entire month of April, I have committed 10% back of all sales back to Sun and Fun as well. So they're getting a 3-tier give back from Legendary Aviation Coffee because I believe in what they do for the kids and for the future of aviation.
Josh's giving isn't just limited to Sun and Fun either.
We give 10% back to one of 6 nonprofits that I have personally vetted. So like Airplanes and Coffee, all right? That's one of our big ones. Texas Valor Project, that's another one. Patriot Paws, RTAG. If you guys haven't heard about RTAG, they're taking veterans from the rotary wing side of the house of the military, and they're transitioning to the fixed wing to get them involved with United Airlines, Southwest, things like that. Then you have Coast to Coast, which takes a motorcycle ride from the West Coast to the East Coast to actually bring awareness to the cure for traumatic brain injury and getting that cure into the people that really need it, which is our veterans and first responders. Then there's Rotorhead Resource.
For younger listeners dreaming of an aviation career, Josh has some advice about where the industry is headed.
Be a technology geek. Get into like a information technology with networks and security background, your bachelor's and master's, even into doctorates. If you understand how the planes and how the networks and how everything kind of works and how to actually enhance the corporations or the structure, you get to be on the front lines of everything. The next big thing is artificial intelligence. Being on the front line, really understanding that, knowing how to program it. If you really want to make some money, that's the next big thing.
And what about the coffee industry? Josh tells us about a new, old trend that we might see on the horizon.
There's something called third wave coffee, and it's been around for about 20 years or so. Third wave coffee roasters or third wave coffee people actually take the chemistry of the water and making sure it matches the type of roast that you actually have. So that way you really bring out all the flavors.
Today, Josh's company is one of the fastest growing aviation themed brands in America. His coffee is served at major air shows, and his blends are helping fuel the next generation of aerospace pioneers. From a kid watching air shows to an Army specialist, from flight test engineer to coffee entrepreneur, Josh's journey shows that in aviation, as in life, there's no single flight path to success. Coming up, think being a pilot is the only way to make it in aviation? Get ready to have your mind blown. Stay with us as we explore 10 incredible aviation careers outside of the cockpit that might change how you think about the future of flight. Are you looking to take your brand to new heights? At Creative Relay Media, we create content that connects and converts. We're a full-service digital agency offering everything from expert voiceovers and custom podcasts to eye-catching videos, engaging copywriting, and standout branding. We don't just tell your story, we make it unforgettable. Whether it's social media, website creation, or full-scale marketing strategies, we've got you covered. So sit back, relax, we'll take it from here. Visit CreativeRelayMedia.com today and let's work together to elevate your brand. Welcome back to the Future in Flight podcast. In this segment, we're diving deep into the world of aviation careers that are way cooler than you might expect. Forget everything you thought you knew about aviation jobs. We're talking careers that are part adrenaline, part science, and 100% awesome. First up, let's check out some careers that prove aviation is way more than just piloting airplanes. You ever hear of a Birdman? No, not that kind. I'm not talking about a superhero. I'm talking about a real aviation professional whose entire job is keeping birds away from airports. These pros use everything from laser technology to strategic fireworks to prevent bird-aircraft collisions. It's like being a wildlife security guard, but for runways. Speaking of wild, have you ever dreamed of being a wing walker? These absolute legends perform stunts on the wings of biplanes during aerial displays. We're talking pure courage, skill, and a total disregard for gravity. One wrong move, and you're free-falling thousands of feet. Not for the faint of heart. Now, let's talk about aircraft rescue and firefighting specialists, or ARF for short. These aren't your regular firefighters. They're specially trained to handle aviation emergencies. We're talking about tackling fuel fires, performing rescue operations, and handling situations most people couldn't even imagine. These pros need to know everything about aircraft construction, hazardous materials, and rescue techniques. Plus, they get to drive some of the coolest emergency vehicles on the planet. Massive trucks specially designed for airport firefighting that can spray fire-suppressing foam while moving at high speeds. But aviation isn't just about daredevils. Let's talk cutting-edge careers that are shaping the future. Unmanned aircraft system, or UAS pilots, are basically the video game champions of the aviation world. These pros are flying drones for everything from commercial deliveries to environmental research. And get this, you can now get specialized degrees in drone piloting. Ever dreamed about keeping our skies clean and our planet safe? Meet aviation environmental engineers, the eco-warriors of the aircraft industry who do just that. These incredible professionals work on everything from reducing aircraft noise pollution to developing sustainable aviation fuels. They're the ones making sure we can keep flying while protecting our planet. Next up, the behind-the-scenes magicians, aircraft interior designers, the creative geniuses who make sure your flight is not just safe, but comfortable. These aviation artists combine engineering knowledge with design skills to create spaces that work for everyone. Think about it. They have to figure out how to fit maximum seats while keeping legroom bearable, design galleys that let flight attendants serve hundreds of meals efficiently, and create storage spaces that maximize every inch of the aircraft. And we're not just talking economy class here. When it comes to luxury private jets, these designers get to go all out installing entertainment systems, creating convertible spaces, and selecting materials that can handle the unique pressures of flight while looking absolutely stunning. Here's an awesome career to consider: flight simulator software developer. These tech wizards create the ultra-realistic training systems that keep pilots sharp and safe. They're combining cutting-edge gaming technology with aviation expertise to build virtual worlds where pilots can practice everything from routine landings to emergency procedures. And get this, these simulators are so good they're approved by the FAA for actual flight training hours. With the gaming industry booming and aviation technology advancing, this field is seriously taking off. The aviation industry isn't just a career, it's an invitation to adventure. Whether you're into high-tech, high-adrenaline, or high-impact work, there's a path waiting for you. A quick pro tip? Start exploring now. Follow aviation professionals on social media, join youth aviation programs, and never stop dreaming big. From Roger that to Niner, pilots seem to speak with their own mysterious communication. Coming up, we'll decode the fascinating language of the skies. Cockpit Culture is presented by AviNation's Tram Talk at Sun 'n Fun 2025. Heading to Sun 'n Fun? Hop aboard the AviNation Tram, a rolling storytelling adventure where you share your aviation journey. Just look for the custom-branded tram and climb on. Join the conversation April 1st through 6th at Sun 'n Fun 2025. In today's Cockpit Culture segment, we're diving into something a bit different, but equally as exciting. We're going to explore the unique language pilots use, a blend of necessity, history, and a dash of humor. So let's buckle up and take off into the world of pilot slang.
This is FIF Airways 209er. We're feet wet at flight level 280, 1800 Zulu. Gorgeous flying.
First up, let's talk about feet wet and feet dry. These aren't just phrases for weather updates. When a pilot says feet wet, they're over water, which is crucial for emergency planning. Feet dry means they're back over land. It's like a secret code that lets air traffic controllers know where to send help if needed. Now, let's talk time zones. Pilots live by something called Zulu time, which is just another name for the GMT or UTC time zones that start at the prime meridian. It's the universal time language in the sky to keep everyone on the same page, no matter where you are. Imagine flying from New York to Sydney. That flight crosses several time zones, and staying on Zulu time keeps things simple. Ever heard pilots say George is flying the plane? No, George isn't the co-pilot. He's the autopilot system. When pilots say this, they're essentially telling you to relax because the tech's got it under control. It's like having a digital wingman.
Flight 209er, clear for Vector 324.
We have clearance, Clarence.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Here's one for all the movie buffs out there. Roger. It's not just a name or a way to say yes. In aviation, it means I understand or message received. Think of all those action films where pilots shout, Roger. Now you know it's not just for show. Although it did create some confusion in one very famous film.
Mayday! Mayday!
Mayday, what was that for?
Mayday? Why, that's the Russian New Year.
Let's pivot to some more dramatic terms. Mayday, the universal distress signal, is derived from the shortened version of the French phrase aidez-moi, which means help me. If you hear this on a flight, it likely means there's been an emergency. And for those of you who've ever wondered about pan, it's not as dire as Mayday, but still signals urgency. Imagine one engine out on a multi-engine airplane. Pan gets controllers' attention without causing too much panic. On the lighter side, in aviation, a deadhead is not that guy in sandals and a tie-dyed shirt. This term refers to crew members flying as passengers to get to their next flight. It's like when you're hitching a ride, but still kind of part of the team. And if they're sitting in the jump seat, that's just a fold-out seat in a cockpit for off-duty crew or inspectors.
ILS approach runway 26 left. More vector to the traffic pattern in use.
Here's a quick tip. When you hear a pilot say bingo, they're not just talking about the game. When pilots say they're bingo fuel, it means they're low and need to head back or divert. This next one is for the thrill seekers. In fighter pilot speak, angels and cherubs measure altitude in thousands and hundreds of feet respectively. Lastly, when pilots count souls on board, they're not getting spiritual. They're counting everyone on the plane, crew included, for emergency scenarios. So, if you ever hear this, it's about ensuring everyone's accounted for. And there you have it, folks. A quick dive into the world of pilot slang. From feet wet to souls on board, this language isn't just for efficiency. It's a part of the rich culture of aviation. Remember, next time you're on a plane, listen closely. You might just catch some of these terms in action. And that's a wrap on today's show. We've covered some incredible ground, from Josh Cook's journey as a flight test engineer to coffee entrepreneur, to discovering amazing aviation careers like wildlife control specialist and simulator developers, and finally decoding pilot speak in our cockpit culture segment. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please consider leaving us a review wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, aviation isn't just about flying planes. It's about pushing boundaries, following your passion, and maybe even creating something entirely new along the way. Until next time, this is Sean Starker reminding you to keep looking up and dreaming big. We'll see you out there and up there.